talk about government, when we talk about environmental organization, when you said what you said about be careful with the environmental movement, you have to look at your environmental organization. Who's on their board of directors? Are they like NRDC, in an alliance with Shell Oil and Bank of America? You have to look very closely. Support the small grassroots environmental movement. Support your local politics. Support local politics. You can. I loved your film, but I thought when you said we have to talk to each other rather than talking policy to the policymakers, I don't think there's any more time for that. I think it's time to talk to the policymakers locally, right now. And
locally. Well, I agree we have very little time. I just worry about what we're going to be saying, because I worry about the narrow analysis that I think is counterproductive. So if we have a clear agenda, then by all means. I think we should probably stop now. But I want to give our panel an opportunity to say a few final words. So if you would like to say a few final words, as you can see, people are tired of those.
It's a really beautiful space. It's the Great Hall.
Well, let's see. I guess if I could add the whole concept of fun and happiness, because that's what the theme of the film was about. And I think sometimes when we're thinking about creating a low-carbon economy, we think about sacrifice. I think that was mentioned in the movie here, going back to the Dark Ages and so on. But to me, it's really about, it's not just the serious part of being responsible for the next generation, which of course we have to do, but it's really about connecting to our place, reconnecting to each other, promoting local arts and culture and creative entrepreneurs and local music and having dances and parties and really having fun together, and also just the collective joy that comes from having shared vision for what we want our world to be. So I think it's really important that, like Elena said, to talk to each other, get together. And I think it is really important to work in your own community with your friends and neighbors to talk about how can we have greener community, greener households, how can we have more fun together, how can we build community, get out of the house, get to the parks, and so on. I think it is really that one of the delightful things about this movement is that it increases happiness.
You're here. I will sort of echo that and add that I think that it's this sense of the local possibilities, particularly in the context of policy and the role of citizens, are so great. There's so many wonderful things that communities out there are doing, examples of places that are creating extensive urban agriculture, like Detroit, places that are supporting local entrepreneurs, cities that are coming up with new and innovative mechanisms for financing local economic activity. And all of those efforts really begin with citizens and the accessibility of your local government and the innovations that can happen there. There's so many possibilities, and that's, I think, a place that we can connect. It can kind of seem overwhelming to begin to think about Congress or the World Trade Organization, and how do you move that, and you can feel very powerless. But the way that that moves ultimately is that it grows up from the ground up. It is the local and state kind of level of policy that begins to create a momentum that ultimately changes federal law. At least that's what I believe. And if you're interested in getting more information about some of the work we're doing or the policy models that we're promoting, it's newrules.org.
Yeah, I think we're all worried because this is such a big problem that we don't want people to feel disempowered. We want you to feel empowered. So I'm trying to think of examples that make, well, for instance, we were talking about Walmart, and I was talking about the film, the high cost and low prices. I happened to be in India for some other purpose. I told a friend of mine who's a Gandhian about that, and, got it translated into Malayalam and stuff, and it actually stopped Walmart, at least for a few years, coming into India. I mean, you can't do, That's a big example, but, or a relatively big example, but, well, here's the thing. I guess you don't, if you cease, do what you can. Do what you can, because if you don't, you'll walk around wondering, what if I'd done that? You know, it might have had a particular result. And whether or not it succeeds, at a minimum, you won't walk around wondering what might have happened had you done it. So, Helena, in the film, there's a wonderful example of people who you arranged, it's like a reverse Peace Corps, right? People you arranged to come here and see the reality rather than the glamorized, televised version of how we live. You know, that's, I mean, just, you know, one person in a influential position in a country that is, or a region or a neighborhood that is being seduced, you know, by this, if, you know, somebody you know, bring them and see what life is really like. I guess that's the message now. Do what you can. And it's fun. Yeah. Right? Right? And it'll make you happy.
And in fact, I also, you know, as I say in the film, ultimately this is about this reconnection with one another and with the earth. And that is also about establishing a way of being where we are seen and heard and cared for by others. So it is an almost automatic recipe for greater happiness. So there is this win-win strategy, and it has to do with turning towards life, towards living people around you, away from the stereotypical media images of people around you. And please keep that in mind with your children also who are on Facebook. I know that it's hard for you, perhaps as an isolated parent, but if you link up with other like-minded parents and encourage that live interaction, that is a real key to restoring real deep self-esteem, which is a prerequisite also for respecting others. So thank you very much for listening so long. Thank you for coming.